Hello everyone, Kairofu here, coming to you with the third installation of the tier list video. First of all, thank you so much guys for those of you that posted a bunch of comments in the comments section. I'm glad to hear that the videos are really helping you and y'all are getting something out of them. So I'm hoping to continue to get these up and continue to post more content for you guys. If you have anything, let me know. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into this tier installation, which we will be delving into the Fierce Heroes, which in my opinion right now is currently the third best faction in the game. They are definitely climbing since the Lizard came into being. Lizard is definitely an incredibly powerful force. And if I quickly go into the arena and go into the ladder, you can quickly see all the top people in the top servers are using the Lizard. Lizard again. If you notice, they are definitely all using the Ranger, and I will get into that and why the Ranger is so good. But currently, in my opinion, Fierce has been lacking heavily since the game has started, and since I began playing as a server 4. And it's kind of been frustrating because when I first started playing, I drew a lot of Fierce heroes, and I was never really able to do much with them. And naturally they were just weaker and I couldn't do much, but luckily with the Lizard I feel like Fierce faction is finally turning around a bit. So if you're definitely going this way, let's talk about your options and delve into the tier list. So first and foremost, the Ranger, which I have yet to get lucky enough to receive, is your tier 1 hero and probably the only Fierce hero that I will place in tier 1. Just based on all the other heroes, I don't think anything else really matches up than the Lizard Ranger. This is mostly because if you look, I talked briefly in the previous video about the importance of shields and keeping your teammate alive, and as a talent, he automatically will shield your heroes, which is incredible. So you have that talent automatically going on. And then let's see what else is important. So we can reduce target shield, once again, something that's important. If you have your enemy shielding, you're able to reduce their target shield and attack, which is very important. You're decreasing their offense and defense at the same time, which is very incredible, very overpowered. And you're also freezing mage and knight targets for 2 rounds. We just take a moment and see how overpowered this is. Not to mention attacking 3 times, dealing 50% attack damage, which isn't much, seeing it's 150% to all enemies, which is decent, but you're also dealing that bleed, and that's going to kick in here in the passives. Because when present, all bleed effects cause your heroes last 1 extra round, and a stack bleed reduces target block. And every stack of bleed also reduces the target's crit. So you have bleed going on, it is going to be big. So stack another bleed hero, like Sheep for example, and it is going to be damaging to the enemy team. And as I found really damaging to my team, I have not been able to stack a Lizard Ranger, and I have definitely found that if I'm going up against people around my power level, I am definitely at a huge disadvantage. And it's just due to those attacks that are decreasing that shield and also shielding them, as well as doing that damage with the burn that also is doing stat debuffs, which is hard, as well as mage and knight targets, which are the normal main targets that you use, are mage and knights, are also getting decreased. Also, like, finally, there's a ranger that's seeming to do a lot of damage, which is great. He is definitely incredibly overpowered. Shoot for him. He's really good. Some good honorable mentions. I think solid tier 2, if not verging on tier 1, are Lizard Knight. Once again, let's quickly look at these actives. 500% attack damage is already nice. And reduces the target armor by 100% for 3 rounds. That's 100% reduction in armor, which is very important. If the target has shield, it steals the shield first. So remember the importance of that shield. Being able to steal that shield can be super strong on top of your already shielded self, which is great. Freezes the target for 2 rounds. Can't be dispelled, which is also a nice thing to have. And it boosts his fierce heroes in general. So it's also great if you're going to stack him with the fierce unit. This is why I think it's so nice to have a boost of fierce, because fierce has been not competing with a few of the other factions, such as meek and agile. So having that is kind of cool to see how he might be able to boost your team that way. As you can see, he hasn't been used as much as the Ranger, because the Ranger is just that strong. I think currently he may be one of the strongest in the game, even rivaling things such as the Elephant, just due to his sheer power and ability to buff and debuff both attack and defense while doing tons of damage. It's just all around super strong hero is where you want to go. But Knight, also a very honorable mention. Warrior, another honorable mention to put in there. He seems to be decent. I put him at a solid tier 2. I don't think I put him as high tier 2 as I would. The Knight, I just don't see anything as impressive as I've seen on the others that really sticks out to me. Mage, probably same thing, solid tier 2. Good for reducing healing amount. It's always a good thing to have every once in a while in certain boss battles where you have bosses where you're running out of time for high sustain. It's always a nice option. Plus, he does decent damage as well. So, good option for battles. Solid tier 2. Situationally, he could be a tier 1, but I'd stick him mostly at a solid tier 2. Still good. I think if there's anything, the Assassin, I believe, is the one that least impresses me. Happens to be one of the ones that I do have. And it's just nothing, again, that really sticks out. He's just kind of increasing his own stats. Something I see very similar to a lot of other heroes. Nothing that really sticks out to me. In terms of these two, I've tried them a little bit. I haven't been terribly impressed, which is why I'm definitely putting them around a lower tier 2 level. But they definitely are better than a lot of your other heroes. But if definitely that Ranger is tier 1, and this here is why the faction is going to be so good. As I go along, I definitely don't use the faction, but I'm going to sort of talk about just kind of what I run into and what I've seen with these factions as well. So let's quickly jump to the Lion Knight, which I feel is the strongest class for the Lion. Although I would not put him at tier 1, solid tier 2, great heals, great support for your team. I'm not going to spend too much time talking over this. Other than that, I mean, other honorable mentions for Knight are the Mage. The Mage offers some good stat boosts for your team and reduces target's armor, which is always great. It increases bleed damage and does a few things that are just kind of decent. Like I said, I've never found it that useful. If anything, I've always used Knight. I would maybe put this tier 3. Then I'd throw the others at maybe Warrior at tier 4. Honestly, I've tried to use him at the beginning of the game and it frustrated me so much, and I quickly learned real fast that he just not built for tanking. The Warrior does not really do much for you, neither really does the Assassin. And I find the Ranger kind of stinks in damage too. It's kind of decent early game, but really falls away late game. So we're talking tier 2 maybe for the Ranger, really low tier 2. Tier 3 for the Assassin, maybe tier 4 for the Warrior. And then we're talking solid tier 2 and tier 2 verging on tier 1 for the Lion Knight. I'd say before a lot of the other recent, like 4 or 5 recent heroes came in, I would have put him tier 1, but recently just the game has increased its standards and he has kind of fallen down. Still a solid hero. You will find him in a lot of big team comps now that are using that fierce element in the team battle, because he does provide good support for your team. So the Tiger, honestly, it's almost the exact same, in my opinion, as the Lion. I think he's slightly less powerful in terms of basic stats. I mean, the talent is decent. The lower target's HP, the higher damage it deals. But it's very situational, and so you're looking at a good way to kind of narrow down those enemies you get pretty low and are sitting at lower HP that may shield and stuff, which might do more damage. But the talent itself isn't that impressive. And just going back real quick to the Lion, it's kind of the same way. He depends on increasing attack for HP loss, and as a talent, that's not really great because it's depending on you losing health, which isn't good to begin with. You want to keep your health up, shield, and do effects. But like I said, the support abilities help keep it from really being much of an issue. And if you actually look at it this way, it's increasing his heals, which allows him to build better sustain, which again is why the Knight is probably more important. But in my opinion, the talent is a lot weaker with these two, and the talent's kind of sometimes your determining factor in base power of a specific hero before we even look into the mage. So to summarize the Tiger, in my opinion, he was decent. I said before, probably the past 4 or 6 heroes, he was a good one to include in your team comp. But like I said, with a lot of the more recent heroes for each of the factions, I would knock him down pretty low. I'd say tier 2 for your Knight. And I'd go, let's see, probably a good tier 3 all around, if not tier 4. The others just really aren't worth mentioning. The mage is kind of okay. I'd put him maybe tier 3, but the rest I'd throw at a solid tier 4. There's just nothing really special in their actives and passives that really stick out to me and that I've seen when I was playing early game, and that no one really uses them anymore other than maybe your Knights that you see because of the decent heal abilities. Being able to cover 350% of attack, it's good if you're, per se, putting Elephant on the front line, who naturally taunts and takes a lot of damage, and of course with his ability to stay in the game and be immune once he hits 1 health, it's nice to have that ability to heal him back up again. So it's a good heal for one hero, which is nice and definitely good situational. So that's why I put him at a tier 2, but other than that, you're looking pretty weak in regards to everything. So Vulture is actually not one I am very well known about. I thought he would be great, seeing as I had to wait a while when first coming in and playing the game to actually unlock him. But then it seemed like I was really excited to get him. I tried to do a few pulls and I got a few, and I played him and he just didn't really impress me. I mean, if we take a basic look at his talent, when attacked, the attacker will be poisoned, which is nice, so you're automatically poisoning when you attack. But then again, at 50% attack, it's not terribly much as a basic talent. Covers 8% of missing HP, which is decent. I guess it's also when attacked. But that just depends on him getting attacked, which kind of keeps him out of the back line for being that useful. Like I said, you kind of play based on those talents and then kind of go individually with these actives. And there's just nothing that really impresses me with those active that much. I mean, he is a semi-solid hero. I'd still give him some decent stats. I think the assassin looks decent, and some of the damage and abilities that he dish out some decent damage. I'd say the same thing about the ranger. And you'd think with an ability like this, your knight and warrior class would normally benefit, but I honestly haven't seen with the skills, they just haven't been that useful. I'd give them, I give Ranger, Assassin tier 2. I give probably the Mage, the Warrior, and the Knight a tier 3. Like I said, I haven't used them too much to really fully say, but I don't see him being used in any other people's team comps. And when I've been up against him, I haven't seen or felt anything special from him. So really, if you're waiting to unlock him and trying to go for him, don't worry too much. Like I said, I don't even see anything that really rivals the Tiger and the Lion in that regard. Last but not least, Crocodile Mage, don't get me wrong, he is the lowest currently leveled on mine. I just haven't put much into him. Originally, I used him a ton when I first started in the game, and the mage class is solid. The ability to freeze dealt with some basic damage is pretty good. And after death, that silence is really super healthful, silencing all enemies, but then again, that depends on him dying, so you're kind of depending on that death to hopefully come back and do things, and I never really like to play that way. I don't like to depend on after death heroes, but for someone who might be struggling at the end of a battle and you realize some of your guys are going down and you're getting really close at the end, it could be something that could save you. I originally put him close to a tier 1, but I'd put him down to more of a solid tier 2 as a mage. This is probably the only thing I'm going to look at and really go over, because in terms of the Crocodile, this is the only thing really worth going for. And it's kind of because of that passive ability and a few of those freezes which help, but he's really squishy, really easy to take down. People that have him now, I can pretty much nail them down pretty easily, and that silence doesn't do much. Because even though it says the silence will go through the shield, now there's basic shield abilities that ignore that, which kind of doesn't make sense to me. But I haven't been affected by that ability like I used to. So therefore, I just wouldn't put him as high. It's great, I think, early, mid-game. Late game, you'll want to go for a more proper team comp than focusing on trying to wait for that passive to kick in. But still not a bad option, like I said, for certain campaign battles. He might be good to throw in. Every once in a while when I get into a really rough spot and I'm having an issue, I'll toss him randomly into a team comp just so he can get killed and knocked out, which isn't bad, but it's very seldom that I do so. Which is why I just keep him down low level. He easily dies and does his thing, and that's all I really need him for. Other than that, probably Warrior I'd put tier 3, and then the rest I just drop in tier. I mean, we just look at his talent. Increase his block by 15% for 5 rounds, and that kind of stacks. So it's a decent buff. Increases block and helps you out, I find, against really strong teammates. Block isn't the most amazing thing, but still that's increasing damage. You put him with someone that's shielding and supporting your team. That could be very helpful to help you survive in battles as well. So it's not bad. Like I said, in my opinion, mage is still the only viable option. In terms of other abilities, it's just nothing else really stacks up. So for now, that's kind of my tier separation video. So in short, the Lizard is just solid pretty much all around. As expected from a new hero, the Ranger is just absurdly powerful. If you get a chance, go for that Ranger position, put a lot into him, it's worth it. Then probably the Lion would be second, with the Knight ability, with the Knight class, and then Tiger with the Knight class. Probably be your best bets. Like I said, Ranger and Assassin are pretty decent for the Vulture. Not bad to go for early on if you're trying to gain a Fierce Faction boost, and let's say you get that Lizard, which I believe is the only real reason to go with the Fierce Faction, is if you're drawing a Lizard and using him as the center of your team, and then build around him. If you have a few Mighties on your team that are allowing you to gain those buffs, that's good. But otherwise, the Fierce Faction isn't great to build with unless you're grabbing that Lizard and you have him, especially that Ranger, to build and stack on. Otherwise, there's a lot of other options in Meek and Agile to build towards that are a little bit better and provide you with better options. But anyways, in my opinion, this is what I believe of the Fierce Faction. Like I said, they might not have been the strongest in the past, but I'm hoping with the new heroes like the Lizard, we can see a rise in the Fierce Faction. I'm really glad to see that there's no longer just the Meek Agile combo that dominated the game for so long, for months on end. That was the same, and everyone kind of had the same team comp. And now that the Lizard finally come in, it gives people more options to play the Fierce Faction a bit more and to use that very overpowered archer's abilities and help dominate the game. But either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you have any suggestions on videos, I'd love to post more up and get more content out to you guys to help you out. Anything you might need to know, anything you think would be easier if I kind of explained it for you guys. I have been playing this game for almost a year, so I have put a lot of time and effort into this game. Say almost a year, probably about 7-8 months now. So I have learned a lot about this game and put a lot of effort into kind of really learning the intricacies, figuring out what's great to counter what and what kind of is really useful in the game in terms of abilities and skill sets. So please feel free to come to me with questions in the comments, and if you have any suggestions for videos, please let me know. In that regards, I hope everyone stays safe and well out there, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.